Welcome to We Are the People. This is Jacob Milton. Like every other Thursday, sometimes I bring guests to talk in regards to some of the issues that's concerning their life, their family life, as well as the conditions of their countries or community. Ladies and gentlemen, the condition of Bangladesh right now, I'm talking about political situation, financial situation, social and others, is well known to every single human being living at this time, those who are educated and learning every single day, that 180 million people are living under a regime that they are getting killed every single day. Some people with a true heart, they cannot stay quiet at this time. Therefore, in America, I couldn't stay quiet, even though my life is way safer than Bangladesh. When I came to this country, I have an understanding that I am living in a country that country is running by law. The law-abiding citizen, every citizen is safe, they're happy, they're trying to have their best things in life they're trying to achieve. But I cannot avoid the fact that our ancestors, including my parents, grandparents, and some other people, are still living in a country there is a crime happen right in front of the government, they stay quiet. Or government himself become a criminal and starts killing people mercilessly. I'm lucky that the country I'm living in, I ask for the attention of a couple of public officials here, and sometimes you have to become lucky to meet people, especially those who are holding public office. Within them, they're good people. Always I meet good people. But some people truly has really kindness and true hearts in order to help other human beings. In Bangladesh, thinking in mind, the condition of our country as well as the condition of the undocumented immigrant in this country, I approached numerous people, numerous public officials. Most of the people, on the record, they say they're willing to help. But well, guess what? Everyone has their limitation. But I'm lucky enough to find one of the gentlemen who just comes up with true heart, and he looked at my eyes and says, Jacob, let's do it. This gentleman, an honorable member of New York State Assembly, and at the same time, he is the deputy majority leader at the New York State Assembly. He is no other than Honorable Assemblyman, Mr. Phil Ramos. Brother Ramos, welcome to the show.
Jacob, it is truly a pleasure to come on your show,
Sir,
speak to your audience, and thank you for the invitation.
Sir, there is one thing I would ask you. I truly appreciate your time, your mentality, and your sacrifice that you came from Albany. You are busy from Monday through Thursday. You came back to the New York City, your constituents in Brentwood, but you know that people of Bangladesh, they truly need help. You have constituents in Brentwood and some other area. Mm-hmm. You drove almost an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to attend this show. What is so important that you saw that in this community, truly we need help? What did you saw?
Jacob, the issue of the Bangladeshi community is a people issue.
Right.
I'm an elected official elected to represent people.
Right.
And the issues that the Bangladeshi community have a lot of commonalities with other immigrant groups. What empowers your community empowers Hispanics, empowers oppressed people throughout the world. So it's an obligation. As an elected official, we have a platform, we have a voice in the community. And when we see injustice, silence could be just as harmful as the oppressor. So I think it's important that we speak out, and I understand some of the issues that the Bangladeshi community is going through. And as we had spoken about previously, in immigrant communities, the best thing that we can do to help our respective countries is empower our citizens here.
Absolutely.
The best thing a Hispanic can do to help Puerto Rico, to help Dominican Republic, is empower Dominican Americans, Puerto Rican Americans. The best thing Bangladeshis can do is empower themselves, because sometimes we can promote more change from outside than our own people can within a system, within the political system in our countries. As you mentioned, the issues that Bangladesh is going through right now.
one thing you used one word that made you little different than other people. You says every public officials are obligated to respond to the people's problem. Do you feel that all of the public officials really feel that obligation?
Unfortunately not. And unfortunately, in the climate that we see today, especially coming from Washington, all we see is polarization. In fact, we see the complete opposite. We see certain ideologies in political parties here who want to receive votes by discounting certain communities, by creating hate towards community, Islamophobia, creating hate against immigrants, creating hate against Muslim communities. This is a way that they use. In fact, it's not unique to this country. In many of our countries also, our leaders find somebody to blame for everybody's problem.
Right.
And they say, look, this is who you have to hate. And it keeps your attention off of them. That same thing is happening here. So that's why I think it's so important that we all work together because we have to empower each other. What helps the Bangladeshi community helps us as well. We're united in this fight, the fight against racism. And as I said before, silence is our enemy.
Absolutely,
Elected officials
no question about it.
Have an obligation to work with every segment of our community. In fact, we empower each other by doing that.
Absolutely. One question you says that there's a polarized society we are living, as well as most of the public officials saying something, just providing a lip service other than acting on the issues.
Right.
I cannot avoid the fact that there's lots of people are getting deported nowadays. In 3 days ago, one of the Bangladeshi guy, he was living in this country for the last 41 years. He has citizen children. He got arrested 11 years ago, reckless driving, and they find one big knife in his car. So he got some way convicted, and then they're deporting him. We tried to stop that deportation because he has 3 U.S. citizen children. His wife is a U.S. citizen, but still, I picked him up and deported. I think they are in a process to deport him. His flight is probably next week. Mm-hmm. And the way White House is giving signal and the ICE, they're not stopping, like picking up those people and all the families. They're just on the verge of the destruction. Their family will get divided. How you see that? Is there any way that lawmaker can help or stop this process?
Well, look, this is the biggest injustice. And when it relates to the Bangladeshi community, unfair deportations have taken place not only in New York, but all over the place. I mean, we had hundreds of Bangladeshis in Arizona deported who were asking for political asylum. And what ICE did is notify the government of Bangladesh of their names.
Yeah.
And the government of Bangladesh says they're lying, there's no political repression here. And many of these people were deported.
Yep.
I mean, how on earth, if somebody's saying I'm being oppressed by this government,
and
why would the U.S. government say to them and put their names out there? That endangers their families. There's total injustice. And there's a double standard. There has always been a double standard when it comes to immigration in this country. You know, people who speak against the immigrants, many times what you hear them say is, look, we're not against immigration. We're just against illegal immigration. All we want is for immigrants to go by the same rule as my grandfather went. We hear this all the time. We hear President Trump say that, right? But what they don't tell you is that the rules have never been the same for people of color. President Trump's grandfather didn't need a visa. 25 million European immigrants came to this country.
Without visa.
All they had to do is buy a boat ticket from Europe to come here. They went to Ellis Island. A doctor looked in their mouth with a flashlight. If they weren't sick, they were allowed in here. You want immigrants to go by the same by the rules? Give them the same rules.
Give them the same rules.
Don't tell us about going by the rules. In fact, many rules when it came to people of color and citizenship were totally different. We had Asian Immigration Act. This was back, I think it was in the 30s. And if you were Asian and born in this country, you could not be American. Everyone knows that in America, if you're born here, you're American. No, not for Asians. They were excluded. We had Operation Wetback. 30% of the United States used to be Mexico. So you have Mexicans who've been living here for a couple hundred years. Never knew any other country. Born in California, Arizona, Operation Wetback deported them to a country they didn't even know. Because at one time, 100 years ago, their ancestors were in
Part of this,
California,
yep.
which was part of Mexico. And so there's always been a double standard. It's so hypocritical to talk about the same rules. And then the heartlessness with which they dealt with the Bangladeshi situation, especially at a time when they're going through political repression in their country. When we look, and by the way, it's not just unique to this country. Last year, I was in Thailand, and I went with the foundation. We were going into Burma to visit the Rohingya. We were not allowed in to that area of Burma,
right.
the
Rohingya
Burmese
area, Myanmar.
Their government stopped us and did not allow us to go in there, and we were just on a fact-finding mission. But when you look at the Rohingya who have fled to other countries, the other countries are doing the same thing. They're deporting them back to Bangladesh.
And Bangladesh or Myanmar.
Right, and or Myanmar where they're being killed. You know, it's totally, this is really a human rights situation that the world needs to create awareness about it. I mean, we've had atrocities happen in the world, World War II, the Holocaust. We had many things happen where the world regrets ignoring things and allowing hundreds of thousands of people to die. And we're seeing this happen with the Bangladeshi community, with the Syrians. And so, as I said, it's our obligation to speak out, because silence is just as bad as does just as much damage to us. You know?
One of the subjects I'd like to talk about, you brought up the subject that from Arizona, American government called Bangladeshi government and informed them that some people are seeking asylum, those who are from Bangladesh, right. And Bangladeshi government told them that it's lie. Mm-hmm. This is the fact. Since 2009, Bangladesh do not have any legitimate government in power. Right now, a party, those who are ruling this country and the so-called prime minister got elected by the 5% of the citizens' vote. There was an election. No political party was being allowed to participate in the election. There's 180 million people, 180 million population. Only 5% people went to the polling booth and vote. Everyone rejected that election, but they hold the power. Our country is right now in a condition that when you see police officer, here we feel safe that, okay, police officers are here. In Bangladesh, when they see police officer, parents are grabbing their children, that police are going to kidnap their children. Police are going to kidnap their husband. Police are going to kidnap their wife. That's the way our country is going through. At that time, right now current regime declared, other than Awami League, all those political party, they're terrorist organization. All those political party, opposition party, they're terrorist organization. That's the way they branded, and that's the way world community has been fed, because that's the statement she's making. Now, when American government called them that, okay, some people are seeking asylum in America, what do you think? Do you think they're going to say no? Or they're going to say yes? They're going to say that, yeah, I'm killing my own citizen?
I know, it's so ridiculous. That's what I find so ridiculous, that you would call a government and expect the government to say, yes, if they do come here, we're going to kill them. They're never going to say that. Mm-hmm. You know, so it was so unfair for that to happen. I don't pretend to know the politics or the total history of Bangladesh. What I do know is what I've observed, and that is that anytime you have, you know, hundreds of thousands of refugees leaving a country, something's wrong. Okay. Something is wrong, and those refugees must be attended to. And you know, my experience has been that refugees aren't refugees because of political parties, because they just want to be part of it. They're refugees because they're facing oppression, they're protecting their families, persecution, for whatever reason. There are some serious issues, but that there should be a prima facie case that something is wrong and that we must protect these people. We can't send them to their death if they're saying this is what they're going to. So, you know, it's sad because our immigration policy is becoming so heartless in the land of opportunity. So we're hoping that this November is our first shot across the bow, because this is our first chance to disarm President Trump with Congress and Senate. And if we're able to take them off, then at least a lot of these policies can be changed, and we can bring humanity back into our government policy.
Yep. Let's talk about our May 3rd event.
Yes, very excited about this.
I'm really excited. And this event, without your help, without your support, the way I was struggling, as a matter of fact, Bangladeshi people were struggling to do this type of event so that our voice can be heard. On that event, the way I posted and the way I saw it in the past, we approached lots of public officials. And well, the way you felt obligated to help a poor Bangladeshi community, most of the people says, oh, you have a problem back home in Bangladesh, what can I do? You could have avoided that. You could have avoided that responsibility. You could have said, Jacob, I cannot do anything. I'm in a state assembly. But you are a kind-hearted gentleman. You said, no, Jacob, let's see if I can do it. Why I was so paranoid about this issue, I'll tell you this. Can you imagine that America's Chief Justice is getting arrested and President Trump sending a couple of gunmen and hijack him? You cannot imagine in this country. I cannot imagine in this country. But in Bangladesh, current regime, two of the Chief Justice, they send a gunman to his house at the night time, pull him out of the bed, and gave him a paper to sign the resignation and throw him out of the country. And when I was going through Congressman, Assemblyman, Borough President, Senator, I was knocking door. I was not getting any help. Then finally I find a kind-hearted guy in you, and you said, Jacob, let's do the event. On that event, what exactly you'd like to approach this issue?
Well, this is comes down to basics. And the basic concept that I mentioned before, that the best thing that Bangladeshis can do to help Bangladesh is empower themselves here.
Right.
Because when they empower themselves here, they can influence American policy towards their country.
Right.
They can influence world policy towards their country. They have a platform with where our own people in our own country are powerless many times to bring about any change. And a lot of times when we immigrate to another country, we have a different optic. We see things differently because we see something else is possible. When we're in our country, our reality is kind of skewed because we never see any change. We're frustrated. We're frustrated to try and change things, and we see things like that. When you come here to the United States, and even though the United States is far from perfect, but it's still one of the greatest countries in the world, and the independence between the president, Congress, Senate, and the judiciary, which is the courts, is something that American people value. We understand why they should be apart. We understand why a president should never be able to tell a judge what to do. So it is the Bangladeshi people here who can make that known in their own country, because part of it is educating our own about what this really means. You know, in our countries, people are poor. We're just struggling to put food on the table. We don't have time for politics. And we don't understand the importance of these things in our countries because we're so busy trying to survive. But it is the Bangladeshi Americans. So that is the concept for this event that yourself and many of the and several of the other leaders, I commend you for being partners in this event, for coming up and having in your heart to want to help your people. You know, a lot of people come here, and once they get theirs, they're like,
it's done.
They're
it's
not
done.
thinking
Over.
about that.
They wash
home.
their hand.
Right, but you know, there's a civic consciousness here that realize that to those who are much is given, much is expected by God.
Absolutely.
Right, and we have an obligation to pay it forward. Whatever blessings we have, to pay it forward. And if we have a way to change things for those who were not able to get the opportunity that we got, we should do it. You know, so this is the first step. On Long Island, especially on my part of Long Island, there are virtually no Bangladeshi organizations, unless, we have mosques, but we don't have any civic organizations. Now, a mosque is a place of worship, and it's a good starting point, but places of worship are not allowed to get in politics and other civics. So this is the first time we're going to have a large conversation from different levels of government here. I'm a state assemblyman. There will be councilmen there from New York City talking about policies, sanctuary city, how New York allows people to have an ID card, from how that affects their immigration status. You will have congressmen there who will be speaking about the battle to disarm Trump on hurting your community, the double standard towards the Bangladeshi community when it comes to immigration issues, the harshness that they're treating Muslims in this country, wanting to ban them, wanting to treat them differently than other immigrants. This is going to be a platform. Under this one roof, we are going to lay out many of the issues that confront, and your people are going to be able to hear it.
Exactly.
And we hope that it's multiplied, that when they go home, they speak to other people.
Exactly.
And say, look, it's important that we join together and we create some kind of power here, because then we could send that congressman as an ambassador of what we want for our country. We can send that assemblyman to use his pulpit to reach eyes and ears of other people, who will provoke a little humanity towards our people. So this is going to be a historic event, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope the Bangladeshi community turns out en masse to attend this, because this is going to be so important.
Okay, so you are saying there would be a couple of congressmen are coming, assemblymen are coming, city council members are coming. Of course, you will be there, and you will be the keynote speaker. You are going to talk about all of our issues.
Yes.
Do you think, like this type of event, if we do it very often, if we keep in touch with elected officials, like go behind them, help them to get re-elected, and as a matter of fact, make their community aware that go to the polling booth and vote at the time of the vote, register your vote. Is it going to be helpful in the future?
It is going to be helpful, and it's only helpful if you have some kind of continuity. In other words, it's important to do this event to support your elected officials. Yes, of course. Bangladeshis have to vote. You have to be perceived as a political power here, right?
Right.
You have to vote. But the most important part is next year you have another Bangladeshi event. You do it every year, because every year you can call those same elected officials back there and you say, you know, last year you said you were going to do this, and that. You're either going to be saying thank you for keeping your word, or you're going to be saying, why didn't it happen? But you provide continuity and you provide accountability to us, to elected officials. Because, you know, too often elected officials come to our churches and mosques and they say, oh, you're wonderful people, and I love Muslims, and I love Christians, and they go away, but nobody
ask them that, have the opportunity to ask the question.
Nobody goes back to them and says, you said we were wonderful people, but why is it when Trump spoke bad about us, you didn't say anything? He's from your party.
Got it.
You know, why didn't you do this? So the important part is not just the event, not just to talk about the problems and go home.
Okay.
Is to identify the problems,
do something, and follow
do
up.
something as a community, which is vote and get involved in the issues, create awareness, give a charge for your elected officials. These are the things we would like you to help us with. And then next year, bring them back, and you create that continuity and that accountability.
Through this television program, can I ask you something?
Yes.
I promise that next year we are going to do the event. Would you do the same thing next year?
You got it. I will be there every year you ask me.
You are running this year for re-election.
Yes.
And the primary is going to happen in September?
Yes.
In September. And your assembly district?
6th district.
6, assembly district 6.
6 in Suffolk County, yes.
Okay. I am your brother. I'm going to support anyway. On the other hand, I asked Bangladeshi people, because for the preparation of this event, I already did 2 events personally. And there was a first event I had a total 100 people, and next event I had more than 150, 200 people. They're already familiar with your name. And there is an interest. Lots of people says, we're going to sacrifice our Saturday, Sunday. We're going to go before the primary. And just through this television program, I'm just informing you, whenever you need help, I'm willing to dispatch at least 50 to 100 people. They're going to run every single road of Brentwood and your constituents.
Thank you so much.
Another thing I'd like to bring attention to, bring your attention is some of the people, those who are getting deported, do you have, like New York State, have any helpline that people can call?
Yes.
Like
there are immigrant services. In fact, I will give my office number if anybody has any questions about this. New York State, you know, as a state, we have provided what a lot of people know as legal aid. Like when people have a criminal problem, there's legal aid for people who can't afford a lawyer. Past couple of years, in order to Trump-proof this state, what we have provided is to expand legal aid to include immigrant services.
Got it.
So there's a certain amount of funds that we secured for immigrant services for people who can't afford lawyers to represent them in these immigration situations. So anybody who wants to find out how to tap into this, how to access these services, and that would require a show itself. We should do that one day.
Okay.
Talking about those services and how to access them. But I'll give the phone number, and at the end of the show, if you want, I'll give the phone number again. But if anybody wants information on immigrant services,
Okay.
they should be calling 631-435-3214.
Bingo.
Got it.
Okay. And on the event, would you like to say Bangladeshi people that exactly what they can expect from you and other public officials?
Yes, I think it'll be the first time you're going to see several levels of government, people in power, specifically talking about the Bangladeshi community, talking about the issues as far as our country's policy towards Bangladesh, talking about our country's policy towards Bangladeshi Americans, towards Muslim Americans, talking about the very different issues, but even more important, we're going to be talking about the commonalities between the Bangladeshi issues and those of other immigrant communities, and how it's important for us to join together to fight for the same things. Because if we're fighting for humanity in our immigration policy, that helps Hispanic immigrants, Bangladeshi, and we empower each other by doing this. What helps you helps us. So this is going to be the first time we're laying out the issues for Bangladeshi Americans as we see it, and how we're going to be talking about a direction that your community should go, how you should empower yourself, what things need to be done by the public, what things need to be done by elected officials, and what things your leaders need to do as well, so we can work as a team to make things better for our people.
And I want you to give your last suggestion that you and me, we talked in great length the condition of our country, political condition, and all those other atrocities is taking place in Bangladesh. Every single Bangladeshi are waiting to hear something hopeful, that there is a hope, that something can be done. I know you're a deputy majority leader at the Assembly. I know you will try to do something really great for the 180 million people, Bangladeshi people, those who are suffering over there. Would you like to give them any sorts of hope that from your position you are going to be helpful? Well, there is a hope.
Well, certainly. I mean, you can be assured of that I will try and help any way that I can, but this is not something that one person can do. There's an old African saying that says, if you want to go somewhere and you're trying to get there fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And the only way we can go far on the issues of Bangladesh is to work together. So you certainly have my word that we will work together on that because these issues are collective. These issues are issues that help all of us. We will work, we'll try and create a framework for political empowerment for the Bangladeshi community. Just like any government. Governments respond to votes. Government respond to those who put them in power. When the Bangladeshi community is perceived as an element, and by the way, you don't have to worry about not being a majority. Sometimes people will say, well, the Bangladeshi community is maybe
a small community.
Maybe 10%, maybe 10% of the vote in this part of Queens, let's just say, or in Hicksville. They might say we can't affect anything, but that's absolutely not true, because if you're 10% of the population, most elected officials are winning elections by maybe 5%, by 6%. And as long as you vote in a block, you could be the kingmakers.
Exactly.
And all we have to do is look at the Cuban community in Miami. They vote as a block. And they are one of the most powerful
community
voting block, and they're Hispanic. But they vote as a block. They know, because one thing unites them is the issue of Cuba. It could be the same of the Bangladeshi community. The things that are happening in your community, in your country, could serve as something to unite you and support those who are helping the situation in Bangladesh and Bangladeshi Americans,
Right.
But it's that conversation that has to get started, because right now your community is at the point where they're here, they're just trying to survive, they're happy to be here, they're enjoying a little better quality of life, but it's to the point where the Bangladeshi community needs to join together to help with the bigger picture.
Brother Phil, we are end of our time. would you like to invite Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistani community to come to the event? This is your camera.
I invite all Bangladeshi, Indian, Pakistani, so we can understand each other. And by the way, you know, just like those three countries, the Hispanic community has a whole bunch of different countries, and we've had wars against each other. We've had prejudices against each other. We've had all sorts of things. And what I have found is that when we come to this country, we get along in a way that we couldn't in our own countries, and because we're in the same, something unites us here. We're all immigrants. We're all fighting for the same thing, and we realize that governments are not people. What governments do doesn't mean that people are doing this. Governments are manipulating crowds. So we don't blame the individual when we come here. We start to understand this. And this is a country where we can talk to each other without having to fight or resort to violence. So we should take advantage of that. This event will be the beginning of that conversation for the Bangladeshi community.
Brother Phil, thank you for the time. And I'm personally really grateful that you made the time today.
Thank you so
very much. And we're going to do a couple of more shows before your election.
Inshallah.
We met today for a specific reason that on May 3rd at 6 o'clock, we are going to have an event called USA and South Asian Friendship Foundation Convention. That's the way we are going to do that convention. At the convention, as Mr. Ramos described, that there's a layers of the government and some members of those layers, such as Congressman, Assemblyman, City Council member, all of the people will be there. And every single elected official, I agree with Mr. Ramos that he says, give them some responsibility so that they just come to your event and says, you are good people, very good people, give you a hug and walk out. Don't let that happen. Give them a task, do another event, and ask them exactly that what did he do that he promised you that he's going to achieve something. It's not going to happen outright. Like overnight, you cannot expect that things happen. You have to give them something. They're going to give you something. I'm not saying that go over there, offer $1 million. No. Only thing Mr. Ramos was saying, participate in a system, create a system. How are you going to do that? Every elected official, they're working with their constituents. You can go join their election team. You can be part of that election team. You don't have to pay a single penny. Donate your time. Work with them. They're going to work with you. If you do, they will feel obligated to do something for you and your community. You cannot just expect that you're going to sit down at home and calling elected official and asking for favor. No one does that. No one achieves nothing in that way. Rather, I'm going to be personally there at the event on May 3rd, like Mr. Ramos and like every other human being from Bangladesh, India, and Pakistani community. I'm going to support them and they are going to support us. How we are going to do it? Come over there. I'm not asking you come over there and open up your wallet. That's not the way we are doing the event. We are going there. All the elected officials are coming there to listen to your problem. They're going to give you advice and they're going to tell you exactly what way they are going to proceed in the future to solve your issues. If you come, they will be encouraged. We will be encouraged that let's do something. I'm Jacob Milton. I'm doing this television program. This is not for profit. We are going to do a newspaper interview. Mr. Ramos, he promised me that next year, if we are going to do that event, he will come again. He will do the show again. He will do everything in his power. But we have to work with him. We have to work with every single public official in this country, those who are willing to help us. Thank you for watching us. I'm inviting all of the South Asian people to join us on May 3rd at Bellagio, 7211 Roosevelt Avenue at 6 o'clock in the evening. You're going to meet a couple of congressmen, couple of assemblymen, couple of state senator, and city council member. We'll have a good time. We're going to serve also dinner. Don't forget that one. Audience, that's our show. We'll meet you next time. Thank you.